German football's eternal bridesmaids are now the country's champions. Leverkusen have broken Bayern Munich's 11-season hold on the Bundesliga and won the first league title in their 120-year history. Bayer Leverkusen were in the relegation zone when Xabi Alonso took over. A little over 18 months later, he's led them to their first ever Bundesliga title. Finally, after almost a quarter of a century, they are Leverkusen no more. This is how it happened. Leverkusen's season began high in the Austrian Alps, under the summer rain in Soften. On the pitch, Xabi Alonso is not who he was as a player. He used to sit at the base of the midfield, but on that training ground he prowled the edge of a vast rondo. Alonso and his staff barked instructions that echoed between the mountains. Those were hard and tough days. When they finished, the players would trek back up a country lane, heavy-legged, back to a hotel high in the mountains. There was a sense of camaraderie around the camp, and a focus. It was what Granit Xhaka wanted. Xhaka is serious and concise in every language he knows. I like this coaching team's intensity, he said in August. They go full gas every session, and that's how we want to play this season. After 7 years in England with Arsenal, Xhaka was lured back to Germany by the opportunity to play for Alonso. He would play as a pure number 6, holding midfielder and hold a leadership role in the squad. Simon Rolfers, Leverkusen's director of sport, spent his summer before pre-season bucking trends. Leverkusen are known in Germany as a developmental club. Signing Xhaka, a player in his 30s, was an atypical move, as were the decisions to bring in Jonas Hoffmann, age 31, and Alejandro Grimaldo, then 27. Rolfers was happy with the talent levels, but before the 23-24 season, he was after more structure. We needed more stability in certain positions, he said just before leaving Austria. We also needed to add experienced players to those we have. Guys like Robert Andrich, Jonathan Dahl, Lucas Hideki, and to provide the team with more role models. The side needed more professionalism and togetherness in the dressing room. The recruits were expected to lead by example and break up the cliques that had formed around the group who spoke different languages. There was no animosity between these groups at all. Everyone got on well, but they needed a more unified team. Xhaka's presence, leadership and charisma were key to bringing more resilience onto the pitch. Central midfielders are the heart of every team. They define how the team plays, Rolfers says. When we found that Granit was potentially available, we saw it as a huge opportunity. Xabi and I flew to London to tell him we wanted him to play deeper for us. We both joked that we didn't need to look at stats, because we had both played against him ourselves on the pitch. There was also an important change in the backroom staff. Thomas Eschen, a former player with Gladbach who had been the head of academy at Bayer, was appointed director of professional teams in the summer to relieve Rolfers of many organisational and administrative chores he had to do. Eschen had a very good influence on the team behind the scenes and allowed Rolfers to focus on transfers, which he did very well, as the club managed to get their number 1 transfer target in every single position, a feat that almost never happens. Leverkusen added a real quality to a side that had already shown plenty of promise in the second half of the previous season, when they made they scored all 5 penalties to go through. There was a different atmosphere, different drive from pre-season in this team. There was a sense of something building before this season. Jeremy Frimpong, about to embark on his 4th campaign at the club, started to believe that something special might lie ahead in pre-season. For me, that game in pre-season, he said, we lost some players, but when we started the friendly games, you could see how it was going to be. Nobody really knew each other, but we were still playing really well. And then, our first game against Leipzig, we played well, and I thought, right, we can do something this year. The season's opening weeks strengthened that view, showing the instant chemistry Frimpong described. He scored the season's first goal, combining with new centre-forward Victor Boniface. In the second game, at Gladbach's Borussia Park, it was Boniface's turn to open the scoring as he headed in after a raking pass from Granit Xhaka had been cut back by Grimaldo. 3 new players, 1 seamless goal. For Frimpong, that instant understanding amongst the side owed much to the strength of Alonso's communication. Everybody understands him, he says. When he has an idea, he can make sense to all the players. I always feel like he knows how to use my abilities, but it's like that for everyone. Ask anyone in the team and they'll all tell you the same thing. Munich on match day 4 was where Leverkusen thought they might stumble. The previous season they had lost 4-0 at the Allianz Arena under Gelado Siona. Until Alonso's return to Bavaria, all the improvements felt theoretical. They were assumed to be a minor plot in the story of Bayern's 12th straight Bundesliga title. Initially, the game followed that script. But having fallen behind to a Harry Kane header, Leverkusen drew on Rolf's role models. Grimaldo knuckled-balled a free kick into the top corner to level the score, and Leverkusen began to play with a startling lack of fear. Xhaka, always at ease with the ball, snapped passes around the pitch and the game changed. Players who had begun fearful, like Edmund Tapsoba, became more aggressive and certain. It was the visitors who were making the chances. It was their attacking players, Boniface, Hoffman, Wirtz, who were having the biggest effect. Even when Leon Goretzka scored with 4 minutes left, with everything for Bayern business as usual, the game was not done. Deep into stoppage time, Hoffman buckled under a challenge from Alphonso Davies, and Ezequiel Palacios stayed calm and scored the resulting penalty. A draw, but a victory of sorts, and one attributable to the side's veteran core. Rolfes names that 2-2 draw as a pivotal moment in their title-winning season. It wasn't just that we came back to a point late on. We saw that we were competing with Bayern at the same level. It was a top performance against top opponents. That's when we all realised we could be a force this season. Few clubs in Germany have been jilted as often as Leverkusen. Visikusen, or Secondkusen, or Neverkusen are tags that come from an extraordinary period between 2000 and 2002. Extraordinary in every sense. The side were extremely gifted but incredibly unfortunate. It is difficult to think of another team who went so close but fell so short. In 2002 they were runners-up to Dortmund and Schalke in the Bundesliga and Deutschen Pokal, and then to the Zinedine Zidane and Real Madrid in the Champions League. The season left a trio of bitter pills to swallow, and in the absence of a trophy, the nickname stuck. The 2002 team had some really bad luck with injuries, and if you had to compare it with the team now, that's one of the areas. They have much more choice matter if it was starting or on the bench. It has been one of the more subtle themes. Leverkusen's most well-known players have often been their best. Wirtz has been outstanding, so too Xhaka, Palacios, Tar and Grimaldo. But the most telling contributions have come from all over the squad. Andrik's form won him his first caps for Germany. Nathan Tella spent the previous year in the Championship, but has impressed since signing from Southampton. Amin Ali and Josip Stanisic have been important, and Patrick Schick recovered from a long-term injury just in time to compensate for the loss of Boniface. Every member of the squad has played their part this season for Leverkusen. While Alonso ball is glamorous, free-flowing and fun, one of the keys to Leverkusen's rapid rise this season is their incredible improvement in defence. Alonso inherited a brittle backline from predecessor Gerardo Sione, one that was conceding an average of 2 goals a game. However, his switch to a 3-man defence proved a masterstroke, revitalising the career of Jonathan Tah, who is now back in the Germany squad, and taking Edmund Tapsoba, Koscielny and Pierre Ngapié to a whole new level. The net result is Leverkusen are now the meanest team in Germany. They have shipped just 19 goals so far this season, which is 17 fewer than second place Bayern. However, their past still hung over them this season. Allied with Bayern Munich's recent dominance of the Bundesliga, there was a fear of a potential slip-up at any moment. Many within Germany expected history to repeat itself. Those moments of doubt came and went. Leverkusen always had the answers. A 90th minute Tar header beat Stuttgart in the DFB Pokal. And even later Palacios winner secured a league win in Augsburg immediately after the winter break. In Leipzig, Leverkusen went behind twice but fought back before Ngapié scored a 91st minute winner. Rolfers recalls Alonso's half-time team talk at the Red Bull Arena when Leverkusen were 1-0 down. We only had 13 available players. Half the squad were injured or at the Africa Cup of Nations. Things weren't going well for us. Xabi said, "I don't give a SHIT if we win or lose this game, but we have to go out and play our football. We have to play for Bayer football." Everyone went back out on their feet and came out with a renewed confidence. In the end, they didn't win by stringing 35 passes together, but by forcing a corner. It didn't matter. You could sense in the changing room afterwards that was a very big moment for us, Rolfers said. Considering Bayern went into this weekend with a whopping 16 points clear of Bayern Munich and Stuttgart, to suggest there was one single decisive result would be to do their season a disservice. They've been consistently excellent over the whole campaign. After all, they've set a new Bundesliga record for the most games unbeaten from the start of the season. Their 38 wins this term is also already a club record. But such was Bayern's stranglehold on the Bundesliga before this season, you have to highlight their meeting at the Bayer Arena on the 10th of February. Who's to say if it was a turning point, as Bayer Leverkusen may well have still romped to the title even if they had lost. But that game was an emphatic statement, a signal that they had the quality and mentality to stand up to Bayern. It's also worth noting that Thomas Tuchel's men would have returned to the summit with a victory. Werder Bremen, Stuttgart, Wolfsburg and Dortmund, the 4 clubs who disrupted the Bavarians' dominance in the league in the last 20 years, all beat Bayern Munich during their title-winning seasons. Could Leverkusen overcome their stereotypical brittleness to do the same in February? Everyone always thinks that Bayern will find a way to win it somehow. The is that to overcome this, you must beat Bayern Munich. The game, in the end, and the 3-0 result offered an array of contrasts. Stanisic scored the first goal despite being on loan from Bayern, which darkened the mood in Munich and added to the season-long grumbles about recruitment. Sacha Boey, Bayern's recent arrival from Galatasaray, suffered terribly at left-back, looking exposed in an unfamiliar position. Teller, who moved to Leverkusen for much less fanfare, had the game of his season down the same flank. But the freedom and conviction in Leverkusen's football was the true difference. Alonso's tactical versatility came to the fore. He caught many off guard with some of his selections, leaving Frimpong on the bench and starting with Amin Adli leading the line, as opposed to recognised centre-forwards Patrick Schick. He also adapted Leverkusen's setup. Usually they looked to dominate the ball and press, but on this occasion they conceded possession to Bayern and sat deeper, with Alonso seemingly convinced their fluid structure combined with direct attacks could do damage. He was right. It was, though, much more than a win. Bayer destroyed all of their hopes, and they proved to themselves that they were the best team in Germany. They had the quality, they got the points, and it was a big psychological boost. The win opened up a 5-point gap at the top of the table for Leverkusen, who never looked back. Even the uncertainty over Alonso's future could not derail them. Rolf has said, players have a keen sense for what's happening by looking at how the manager and the sporting director get along. They saw that we were very relaxed about the situation, talking to each other in an atmosphere of trust and openness. We knew all along that Xabi was likely to stick around, but it wouldn't have made a difference if he said he was to leave at the end of the season either. While Bayern faltered and announced that Thomas Tuchel would leave at the end of the season, still unbeaten Bayer won their next 8 Bundesliga games to clinch the title in style. What makes Leverkusen's success even more impressive is how Alonso has adapted their style quite dramatically over his relatively short time in charge. There's a significant difference in how they played in 23-24 to 22-23, and much of this was evident in the first few weeks of the season. For most coaches, after joining a club, they'll establish or try to establish a style of play and core principles for the team. Alonso did that, and then essentially did it again for this season. Although Bayer did generally have more possession than their opponents last season, their average possession of 51% reflects a degree of pragmatism in Alonso's tactics. They were happy to seek counter-attacking opportunities, knowing they were effective with the pace of Musa Diaby. However, this term, their possession share has shot up to 63%, which is much more indicative of a team that seeks control. In fact, in the top 5 leagues this season, only Barca, PSG and Man City have had a higher possession. Most importantly, all of this contributes to them being effective in attack, with only Bayern Munich scoring more than them, and an incredibly shrewd defensive system as well, means that they have conceded fewer on average per game than only Real Madrid and Inter. As a result, glory is theirs. No more is it a case of wondering if Leverkusen can overthrow Bayern Munich. They've already done it. With their title triumph a worthy reward for an incredible season, the Bundesliga definitely needed this after 11 seasons of Bayern Munich dominance. Alonso's patience has paid off handsomely, and there could be even more to come. Leverkusen will celebrate their first league title, but with a degree of restraint, as the prospect of immortality demands it. Europa League, potential semi-final and DFB Pokal final to come. Not just a potential treble, but a chance to go an entire season without defeat in 3 competitions. This isn't over, Rolf has said. Leverkusen, the club that used to be a byword for failure, enjoy winning too much now to stop. So there we go. That is the story of how Bayer Leverkusen ended up winning the Bundesliga this season. It's been an incredible story by them. What a season for Leverkusen. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you are a German football fan or a fan of their journey, please let me know your thoughts on the team, Alonso, their best player this season, stuff like that. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have enjoyed, please leave a like. Consider subscribing